First off, I found myself very angry and a bit upset. I found myself a bit emotional, and I was thinking, oh geez, what am I about to go through here? And I didn't actually think about that at all this morning when I was coming here. I didn't think about the emotions that it'd bring up and the memories that it'd bring up. So, you know, it's something that was really important to me.
What are we going to do with Brighton? It's slow going through Brighton. So have we got a way to solve our problem about the slowness of going through Brighton? Yes? We could build a bigger road. What are we going to do? Knock all the houses down? Go round. We'll go round. We'll go round Brighton, shall we? Okay, cool. Cool idea. Sometimes we fall into the trap of trying to teach children about something that has happened, and we kind of say, well, this is how it happened, this is what happened, these are the people who were involved, and that's what the outcome was. And you know, there's nothing wrong with that way of doing it, but we would like to introduce an idea of getting students to think for themselves and to predominantly put themselves into different people's perspectives and to understand different points of view from any one situation. And so we've done this a few times with incidents that have happened around Tasmania, and one of the most recent ones was the issue of the bypass being built around Brighton, and in the process of doing that, that bypass was crossing over Kutulina, which is a really important site for Aboriginal people. So the purpose of the exercise is to get students to try to put themselves into the position of being a number of different people, and we chose 6 people for this exercise because it's just about manageable. The idea is to brainstorm and work together. So the process was to have a large piece of paper and large texters so that everybody could have a go at writing. So they started with the first character and started to discuss and write down what it was that they felt that that character would feel about the bypass.
They will feel fine because they have a road to drive on.
We had enough people in a room to model what we wanted them to do, and the adults played that out to give the students an idea of what they needed to do. Then it was their turn to first of all prepare their map and then decide who was going to take on which role, and then they did the interactive role play, and we had 3 groups in the class and each group showed their role play to everybody else.
Get back, I'm going to arrest you. I'm in charge of you, buddy.
And then the final act was to get the students to collectively write a poem that was speaking from the perspective of the land, so that that became the 7th character.
I am the land. I feel I am being torn apart.
Finders keepers, they found us first.
I was happy, now I'm not.
The discussions were really very sophisticated, and it was great to be able to hear the maturity of the answers coming from the students. They were really thinking about the answers, and they could see that it wasn't a hard and fast kind of response. People recognised that if they were people who were working on construction, that they might be put to real financial hardship because they couldn't get on with what was their job. Other people were very mixed. The residents were very mixed about whether they actually wanted a bypass or not. They could see that it was going to impact on their own lives. And the Aboriginal people probably had the strongest and most consistent voice, that they were very clear that they were connected to country and that this was a short-term solution that destroyed something that was deep heart connection to those people. We also had the benefit of having 2 Aboriginal education workers working with us today, and they were careful not to push their ideas too strongly because, again, they wanted to see how the students developed that capacity to communicate and to have empathy for themselves.
To be honest with you, I was very proud of myself. I actually went, Nathan, switch off. You know, you're not there anymore. These are children, they're allowed to have their own voice, they're allowed to have their own opinions. I want to see what their opinions that was. I was really interested to see what their opinions was. I was really stoked at the end of it, and especially because we didn't have much of an influence on their opinions. You know, we didn't force anything down their throat. I was really stoked that they was really sympathetic to the cause. And a lot of them just by themselves thought, you know, I can feel for these Aboriginal people at the time. And if you ask me, out of all the roles, the 6 roles, I think they was more sympathetic to the Aboriginal cause than any other.
Think about another role that might need a bit more support, maybe. I thought the task went really well today. The kids were really engaged in terms of them being able to take on different roles and really have a think about, you know, how is this impacting on such a political issue. It's quite current still, and it's also something that affects this area because we're quite close to it. And again, we have the Aboriginal students in that classroom, some of those who took on the role of the Aboriginal person. So it was really good to be able to see that their confidence was there to be able to speak up and know that that was coming from, you know, not just from saying, but maybe from the heart as well. I was out on duty in between the two sessions and the kids were coming to talk to me about the different perspectives even out there, which was great. Really positive about being recorded and not being nervous and being able to share their point of view and listen to others. So it's been a good response from what I've seen and heard so far. I was delighted with the response from the group. I know, because I've worked with groups like this before, that it actually is a good example of inclusive education because the groups work together, and it may be difficult to start with and they may not be used to working together and collaborating, but after a while students start to really understand. And so there were students in there who weren't very comfortable about speaking up, and the use of symbols really helps with that, because it takes it away a little bit from actually somebody speaking, but here is my possum and that possum represents the police, and so I'm going to speak through that. And so that's a deliberate attempt to support people to move slightly away from themselves so that they don't get so self-conscious.
Well, if we put this bridge in, it will save traffic and you can get places fast.
They already have a road, so what's the point of putting a new one in? We need a faster way so we don't have to buy through.
No, but it's our land.
Well,
leave it alone.
we need people to go through Brighton, or I'm not going to be having any customers going to my gift shop.
You could move your shop. It's our land. Well, if we need a bigger bridge because there's traffic going through Brighton.
I felt that when they were doing the reenacting that it really stayed pretty inconclusive, that there were strong voices, there were weaker voices, and each group had a go at something. Nearly everybody participated, but we were kind of left hanging, which is an important educational point, that we're not trying to hammer home an idea.
They're not puppets, they get to think for themselves. Every one of us should have the right to think for ourselves. And you know, even though they might have a different point of view than me, we can't take that viewpoint away from them. Otherwise, we're not doing the kids any justice, we're not doing the kids any favours. The kids will make up their own mind, and you know, we've got influences from home, we've got influences from TV, we've got influences from teachers. And so if over time the kids will learn that they can take all these little influences, but then they've still got the right to make up their own mind.